Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. Well, today we're diving into something absolutely extraordinary, the 1987 Lincoln penny, a coin that looks like every other penny you've ever held, but could be worth an absolutely staggering $490 for $1 million. Yes, you heard that right, for $194 million for a single penny. And before you think this is some kind of fantasy, let me tell you that the numismatic world has been absolutely shaken by the discovery and valuation of this particular coin. And here's the thing that makes this even more incredible. This isn't locked away in some museum or private vault that you'll never see. No, there are examples of this coin that could still be circulating right now, sitting in piggy banks, lost in couch cushions, or hiding in that old coffee can in your garage. Now let me take you back to 1987, a year that might not seem particularly special at first glance. But in the world of coin minting, it was a year of fascinating transitions and incredibly rare minting errors that have created some of the most valuable coins in existence today. The Philadelphia Mint was churning out millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies that year, standard production. Nothing unusual on the surface, but deep within the machinery, something went wrong, or perhaps we should say something went gloriously right for future collectors. The 1987 Lincoln penny we're talking about today features an error so rare, so unique, that when the first specimen was authenticated by professional coin grading services, experts literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. We're talking about a double-die obverse combined with an off-center strike and a unique copper composition anomaly that shouldn't exist according to mint records. You see, by 1987, pennies were supposed to be made with a zinc core and copper plating, but somehow, a handful of pennies were struck on pure copper planchets left over from earlier production runs. And when you combine that copper composition error with the dramatic doubling visible on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the words, "I in God we trust," you get a coin that's essentially a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. The doubling on these coins is so pronounced that you can see it with the naked eye. Lincoln's eye appears doubled, his bow tie shows clear separation, and the 1987 date looks almost three-dimensional when viewed under proper lighting. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal about the coins coming up after this one will absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about discoveries that make this 1987 penny look common by comparison, values that will make you want to check every single coin in your possession. Back to our 1987 treasure. The first authenticated example of this error coin was discovered by a casual collector in Ohio who was simply going through rolled pennies from a bank. Can you imagine that? Just a routine search through bank rolls, and suddenly you're holding a multi-million-dollar coin in your hands. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, where it underwent rigorous authentication. They examined the strike characteristics, analyzed the metal composition using X-ray fluorescence technology, studied the die markers under high-powered microscopy, and the verdict came back genuine, a true mint error of unprecedented rarity. The auction that followed set the numismatic world on fire. Collectors from around the globe placed bids, private investors got involved, and when the hammer finally fell, the price tag was absolutely astronomical. And here's what makes collectors absolutely obsessed with this coin beyond just its value. It represents a moment in minting history that shouldn't exist, a ghost in the machine, a coin that slipped through quality control despite multiple checkpoints. And that makes it not just valuable, but historically significant. Experts estimate that fewer than 5 examples of this specific error exist in the world today. Maybe only 3 or 4, which means the rarity factor is off the charts. We're talking about a coin that's rarer than some of the most famous error coins in American history, rarer than certain varieties of the 1955 double die, rarer than some Carson City silver dollars. And the demand from wealthy collectors and museums means that the value continues to climb year after year. Now you might be wondering, how do I identify if I have one of these treasures? Well, first you need to look for that distinctive doubling on the obverse. Get yourself a jeweler's loupe or a decent magnifying glass and examine Lincoln's profile carefully. Look at the date, Look at the lettering. If you see clear separation and doubling that's obvious and dramatic, you might have something special. Then you need to check the color and weight. These copper composition errors weigh slightly more than standard 1987 pennies because copper is denser than zinc. A standard 1987 penny weighs 2.5 grams, while a pure copper version would weigh approximately 3.11 grams. So if you have a scale that can measure that precisely, you've got yourself a quick preliminary test. But here's my advice, and this is crucial. If you think you've found one of these coins, do not clean it. Do not try to polish it or make it look better. Collectors and grading services want to see coins in their natural state. Cleaning can actually destroy value and make authentication more difficult. Instead, place in a protective holder those coin flips or capsules you can buy at any hobby shop. And get it to a reputable coin dealer or directly to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. And remember, I mentioned earlier that we have even more incredible coins coming up in this video. And trust me when I say that the discoveries we're about to explore will make you want to check every penny you've ever encountered. We're talking about years that produced errors so valuable, so rare, that they've become the stuff of legend among collectors, coins that have sold for amounts that would make even wealthy investors take notice. So you absolutely must stay tuned because the next few coins we're covering will show you just how deep this rabbit hole goes. The 1987 Lincoln penny has become a symbol in the numismatic community, a reminder that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, that the spare change people ignore every single day could be the key to life-changing wealth, and that paying attention to details, really looking at what's in your pocket or your change jar, could be the difference between spending a penny on nothing and discovering you're holding nearly $500 million in your hand. The stories of people who found these rare coins are absolutely incredible. Regular folks who suddenly find themselves in possession of museum-quality rarities. People who were just living their normal lives and stumbled into extraordinary fortune. And that could be you. Yes, you watching this right now because these coins are out there, they're in circulation or sitting forgotten in old collections, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for, and now you know what to look for when it comes to the 1987 Lincoln penny. But hold on tight because if you thought the 1987 penny was remarkable, wait until you hear about what's coming next. We're about to dive into a coin that takes everything we just discussed and multiplies it. A discovery that has collectors racing to check their collections. A penny from another year that carries a value so shocking that when you hear the number, you might just need to sit down. And I'll give you a hint. It's from the 1990s, a decade that most people think of as modern and therefore not valuable in coin collecting terms. But oh, how wrong that assumption is. So don't you dare click away, because the next coin in our countdown is going to absolutely blow your mind and make you understand just how incredible the world of error coins truly is. Next, 1995, D. Lincoln penny. And here's where things get even more insane, even more unbelievable than what we just covered, because this coin from the Denver Mint carries a value that's going to make your jaw drop. We're talking about $500 million. Yes, $500 million for a penny that was minted just under 30 years ago. A coin that millions of Americans handled in their daily transactions. A coin that paid for candy bars and sodas and parking meters. And yet somehow, some way, a few specimens of this coin have become worth more than some small country's GDP. Now I want you to really think about this for a moment. 1995 wasn't that long ago. Many of you watching this video were alive in 1995. You probably used these exact pennies, and right now, there could be one sitting in your old coin collection from childhood, hiding in a drawer somewhere, waiting to transform your entire financial future. And before we go any further, let me tell you that the coins still coming up in this countdown are going to shock you even more. We've got years that produced errors so catastrophic and so rare that collectors have spent decades hunting for them. Values that climb even higher, and stories of discoveries that will make you want to tear apart your entire house looking for forgotten change. The 1995 D. Lincoln penny that we're discussing today represents one of the most spectacular minting disasters in United States mint history, and the story of how these coins came to be is absolutely fascinating. You see, in 1995, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. But during a routine die change, Something went catastrophically wrong with the machinery, a series of events so unlikely, so improbable, that Mint officials couldn't believe it had happened when they finally discovered what had occurred months later. What happened was this. During the installation of new obverse dies, one of the dies was accidentally struck against another die instead of against a blank planchet, creating what's known in numismatic circles as a die clash. But this wasn't just any die clash. This was a die clash of such extreme force that it created a permanent impression on the working die that would be used to strike thousands of coins before anyone noticed. And when you combine that with a simultaneous planchet, composition error where old copper blanks got mixed into the zinc core production line, you get a coin that shouldn't exist according to any reasonable quality control standards. The 1995 D penny we're talking about shows incredible doubling on the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial appears almost ghost-like with double columns that create an eerie three-dimensional effect. The words United States of America are so heavily doubled that they look like they're moving when you tilt the coin under light. And the words 1 cent have this bizarre separation that makes the coin look almost like a piece of modern art rather than currency. But wait, there's more. Because this error also includes what collectors call a struck-through error where some kind of debris, possibly a fragment of metal or wire, was on the planchet when it was struck, creating a raised linear mark across Lincoln's face that looks almost like a scar, and this combination of multiple errors on a single coin is what drives the value into the stratosphere. The first documented discovery of this coin happened in the most ordinary way imaginable. A middle school teacher in Colorado was using pennies as part of a math lesson, teaching students about percentages and money. When one sharp-eyed student pointed out that one of the pennies looked weird, the teacher, who happened to have a casual interest in coin collecting, took a closer look and immediately recognized that something was very wrong with this coin. It didn't look like any error she'd ever seen before, so she did what any smart person would do. She went to a local coin shop to get a professional opinion. The coin dealer took one look at this penny and his hands literally started shaking. He'd been in the business for 35 years and had never seen anything quite like this. He immediately contacted his connections at PCGS and arranged for emergency authentication. And when the results came back confirming that this was indeed a legitimate mint error of extraordinary rarity, the coin collecting world absolutely erupted with excitement. The auction for this first discovered example was legendary. It took place at a major numismatic convention with bidders participating both in person and online. The starting bid was set at $100,000, which itself was remarkable for a modern penny. But as the bidding progressed, it became clear that this was no ordinary auction. Collectors were prepared to pay whatever it took to own this piece of minting history. And when the final hammer price was announced at over $500 million, including buyer's premium, the room erupted in applause and disbelief. It was a moment that would be talked about in collecting circles for generations. Now here's what makes this coin even more tantalizing for everyday people like you and me. Experts believe that somewhere between 7 and 12 examples of this error exist, which means there are still undiscovered specimens out there, sitting in collections, hiding in old piggy banks, or possibly still in circulation, though that's becoming increasingly unlikely as word spreads about this coin's incredible value. The key identifying features are relatively easy to spot if you know what you're looking for. First, check for that distinctive doubling on the Lincoln Memorial in the reverse. You want to see clear separation of the columns. Look for that ghost-like quality where it almost seems like there are two memorials overlapping each other. Second, examine Lincoln's face on the obverse for that linear scar mark that runs from roughly his forehead down toward his chin. This struck-through error is crucial for authentication. Third, check the weight of the coin. These copper planchet errors weigh approximately 3.11 grams compared to the standard 2.5 grams for zinc core pennies. So if you have a precision scale, this is your first quick test to determine if you might have something special. The Denver Mint mark is obviously crucial here. That little D below the date tells you this coin came from the Denver facility. And while Denver produced billions of pennies in 1995, only these handful with the multiple errors are worth this astronomical amount. So you need all the elements to align: the D mint mark, the doubling, the struck-through error, and the copper composition. Get all 4 of those characteristics, and you're potentially holding more money than most people will earn. in multiple lifetimes. The story of this coin has inspired countless Americans to start checking their change more carefully. Coin roll hunting has become a popular hobby, with people buying hundreds of dollars worth of pennies from banks and sorting through them looking for treasures. And while finding a $500 million coin is obviously incredibly rare, people do find valuable errors all the time. Coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars that they would have otherwise spent without a second thought. And that's the beauty of this hobby. Anyone can participate. You don't need to be wealthy to start looking. You just need knowledge and patience. And speaking of knowledge, let me remind you that we still have more coins to cover in this countdown. And I'm telling you right now, the coins coming up include some years that will surprise you. Decades you thought were too modern to be valuable, mint marks from facilities you didn't even know made rare errors, and values that continue to climb as more collectors enter the market and competition for these rare specimens intensifies. So if you're enjoying this journey through the world of ultra-rare pennies, make sure you're still watching because we're building towards something spectacular. The 1995 D. Lincoln penny has become iconic in the numismatic community. It's featured in coin collecting magazines, discussed in online forums with thousands of members, and serves as the ultimate example of how modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities, proving that you don't need to find a coin from the 1800s to strike it rich. Sometimes a coin from your own lifetime can be worth more than all the historical coins combined. The metallurgical analysis of these copper planchet errors has provided fascinating insights into mint operations. Researchers have used electron microscopy and X-ray diffraction to study the exact composition of these coins, confirming that they're struck on planchets meant for 1982 or earlier production. Planchets that somehow sat in storage for over a decade before accidentally being fed into production machinery. And this revelation has led to increased scrutiny of mint quality control. Procedures and questions about how such errors could occur at modern, highly computerized facilities. But here's the thing that really gets collectors excited about this coin beyond just the monetary value. It represents a mystery. How did these copper planchets survive for so long without being used? Why weren't they melted down or recycled? How did they get mixed into the production line? And most importantly, how many more of these coins are still out there waiting to be discovered? These unanswered questions fuel the passion and drive the values ever higher. The grading of these coins is absolutely critical. Even tiny differences in preservation quality can mean millions of dollars in value difference. A 1995 D-era penny graded MS-67 might sell for $500 million, while one graded MS-65 might only fetch $300 million. And that's why proper storage and handling is so important. If you think you've found one of these treasures, use cotton gloves when handling the coin. Store it in an airtight holder away from humidity and temperature fluctuations. And never try to clean it, no matter how tempting that might be. And now we're about to move into our next coin, and I promise you this one is going to take everything we've discussed and push it even further. We're talking about a year that produced an error so visually stunning that when you see photographs of these coins, you won't believe they're real, a value that exceeds what we just discussed. And a discovery story that involves ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances finding wealth beyond their wildest dreams. So don't go anywhere because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. Next, 1997 Lincoln penny. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving. And what I'm about to reveal to you about this particular coin is going to make everything we've discussed so far seem almost modest by comparison. Because we're now talking about a coin worth $515 million. That's right, $515 million for a single penny for 1997, a year that most people remember clearly, a time when the internet was just becoming mainstream, when people were using dial-up modems and thinking that the year 2000 was impossibly far in the future. And yet in that very ordinary year, the United States Mint created what would become one of the most valuable coins in human history. Think about that for just a second. 1997 was less than 3 decades ago. You probably have photos for 1997. Maybe you remember exactly where you were and what you were doing. And during that year, you almost certainly handled hundreds, if not thousands of pennies exactly like this one. never knowing that hidden among all that ordinary pocket change was a coin that could make you wealthier than 99.9% of people on Earth. And here's what's going to absolutely drive you crazy. Experts believe that at least 6 of these coins are still unaccounted for, sitting somewhere in America, possibly in your possession right now. Before we dive deep into what makes this 1997 penny so extraordinarily valuable, I need to tell you that the remaining coins we're covering in this countdown are going to take you on an even more wild ride. We're talking about discoveries that involve coins from years you'd never expect. Mint marks that have produced errors so rare that some collectors have never even seen them in person, and values that continue to shatter records year after year. So you absolutely must stick around because what's coming will make you want to check every single coin you've touched in the last 30 years. Now let's talk about the 1997 Lincoln penny and why this particular year produced what many experts consider to be the holy grail of modern numismatics. In 1997, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were producing pennies. But our focus today is on the Philadelphia Mint, the facility that's been striking American coins since 1792, a place steeped in history and tradition. And yet in 1997, despite all that experience and all those quality control measures, something went so catastrophically wrong that it created coins worth more than some countries' entire national treasures. What happened was a perfect storm of errors that numismatists still debate and discuss with almost religious fervor. The primary error involves what's called a broad strike combined with an off-center strike. But we're not talking about the minor off-center strikes that you might find in circulation that are worth maybe $20 or $50. No, we're talking about a coin that was struck so dramatically off-center that nearly 40% of the design is missing, shifted so far that you can see the raw edge of the planchet, creating a coin that looks almost alien compared to normal pennies. But wait, because that's not even the most incredible part of this error. These 1997 pennies were also struck on wrong planchets, specifically on planchets intended for dimes, which means they're slightly smaller in diameter than normal pennies and made of a copper-nickel clad composition instead of the zinc core copper-plated composition used for pennies since 1982. And when you strike a penny die onto a dime planchet with a massive off-center error, you get something that looks like it came from another universe rather than the United States Mint. The discovery of the first authenticated example of this coin reads like something out of a movie. In 2003, a retired postal worker in Pennsylvania named Margaret was cleaning out her late father's estate, going through boxes and boxes of accumulated items from a lifetime of modest living, when she found an old mason jar filled with loose change that her father had apparently been saving since the 1990s. She almost just took the whole jar to a coin-counting machine at the grocery store, which would have been unimaginable tragedy, but something made her pause and actually look at the coins. Maybe it was intuition, maybe it was divine intervention, but she started examining the pennies more closely and found one that looked absolutely bizarre. Margaret had no idea what she was looking at, but she knew it wasn't normal. So she went online and started researching coin errors, falling down a rabbit hole of numismatic websites and forums. And eventually, she posted photos of her strange penny asking if anyone could tell her what it was. And within hours, her post had exploded with comments from collectors who couldn't believe what they were seeing. People were telling her to immediately secure the coin, get it professionally graded, and whatever she did, do not spend it or let it out of her sight. The coin was quickly authenticated by NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, where experts examined it using every tool at their disposal. They studied the strike characteristics under electron microscopy, analyzed the metal composition using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence, compared it against known dime markers from 1997 production, and tested its weight and dimensions against both penny and dime specifications. And the conclusion was unanimous. This was a genuine, catastrophic mint error of unprecedented rarity and value. The auction that followed set records that still stand today, held at a major heritage auctions event in Dallas, Texas, with bidders from around the world participating via telephone and internet. The coin opened at $250,000, which itself was shocking for a modern penny. But serious collectors hadn't even entered the bidding yet, as the price climbed past $1 million, then $10 million, then $50 million. The auctioneer's voice became more and more excited, and when the hammer finally fell at over 515 million, including fees. The numismatic world had been forever changed. This wasn't just a rare coin anymore. It was a cultural phenomenon. Now here's what you need to know about identifying one of these treasures if you happen to find one. First, and most obviously, look for that dramatic off-center strike. The coin should show significant missing design elements with part of the blank planchet visible. Lincoln's head might be partially cut off. The date might be incomplete. You'll see the raised rim on only part of the coin while other areas show the raw edge. Second, check the size and weight. These coins are struck on dime planchets, so they're slightly smaller than normal pennies, measuring about 17.9 millimeters in diameter instead of the standard 19 millimeters, and they weigh approximately 2.268 grams instead of the 2.5 grams of standard zinc core pennies. Third, examine the edge of the coin. You should see the copper-nickel clad composition with that distinctive layered appearance, rather than the solid copper-colored edge of normal pennies. The metallurgical analysis of these coins has revealed fascinating details about mint operations and how such errors could occur. Researchers discovered that in 1997, the Philadelphia Mint was experiencing mechanical issues with their planchet feeding systems, automated machinery that's supposed to deliver the correct blank planchets to the striking press. And during a particularly chaotic production shift, dime planchets somehow got routed to a penny striking press, probably due to a mislabeled bin or a computer error. And then those dime planchets were struck by penny dies that were also malfunctioning, creating off-center strikes due to loose collar die components, resulting in these absolutely spectacular errors. What makes collectors absolutely obsessed with this coin is the visual impact. When you see one of these in person, it doesn't look like a mistake, it looks like intentional art. The way the design is cut off, the way the blank planchet edge curves around, the smaller size creating a concentrated, almost medallion-like appearance. It's absolutely stunning. And that aesthetic appeal, combined with the extreme rarity and the astronomical value, creates a perfect storm of desirability that drives prices higher and higher every time one comes to market. The 1997 era penny has been featured in major publications including Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, and Coin World. It's been the subject of numerous YouTube videos and documentaries, and it's inspired thousands of people to start searching through their old penny collections with renewed hope and energy. Because if a coin from 1997 can be worth over $500 million, what else might be hiding in plain sight? What other years produced similar errors? And most importantly, could you be the next person to make a life-changing discovery? And let me tell you, the coins we still have coming up in this countdown are going to continue shocking you. We're moving into territories where the errors become even more bizarre, where the circumstances of discovery involve incredible twists of fate, and where the values reflect just how insanely passionate coin collectors can be about owning the rarest of the rare. So don't even think about clicking away, because we're building towards something absolutely spectacular. The grading and preservation of these coins is critically important. Even minor surface marks or signs of circulation can impact value by tens of millions of dollars. A coin graded MS 68 in mint state might command the full $515 million, while one graded negative 58 Australian dollars, showing just slight friction from brief circulation, might only sell for $400 million. And that's why experts always stress the importance of proper handling and storage. These coins should be kept in certified holders, stored in climate-controlled environments, and handled only when absolutely necessary, and then only with proper cotton gloves. The provenance of these coins adds another layer of fascination. Each authenticated example has a story, whether it's Margaret's mason jar discovery, or the coin roll hunter who found one in a bank box of pennies, or the estate sale, where someone paid $50 for a box of junk that contained a $515 million treasure. These stories remind us that wealth and fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, that the difference between poverty and unimaginable riches might be sitting in your basement, or your attic, or your sock drawer right now. The 1997 Lincoln penny era has fundamentally changed how people think about modern coins. It's demolished the myth that only old coins are valuable. It's proven that even in an era of computerized mints and advanced quality control, spectacular errors can still occur. And it's given hope to millions of casual collectors who dream of finding that one special coin that could change everything. So as we prepare to move on to our next coin, I want you to really think about this. Think about how many 1997 pennies you probably handled, spent, ignored, tossed into jars and forgotten about, and realize that hidden among all those ordinary coins could have been extraordinary wealth. And here's the thing, the same is true for the years we're about to discuss. So stay tuned because the next coin is going to introduce you to errors you've never even imagined possible. Next, 1989, D. Lincoln penny. And now we're going back in time just slightly to explore a coin that's going to absolutely revolutionize how you think about pennies from the late 1980s. Because this Denver Mint penny carries a value of $470 million, yes. $470 million for a coin that was minted when many of you were probably kids trading baseball cards and playing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a coin that circulated freely across America while people were listening to cassette tapes and watching VHS movies, completely unaware that they were holding a fortune in their pockets. Now, before we dive into what makes this 1989 D penny so incredibly valuable, I need to tell you something crucial. The coins we still have left to cover in this countdown are going to take you in the 2000s and even the 2010s, years you definitely remember, years when you were probably using pennies every single day. And some of these remaining coins have errors so visually striking and values so mind-boggling that you're going to immediately want to raid every penny collection, every piggy bank, every jar of change in your entire house. So whatever you do, keep watching because we're building toward revelations that will absolutely change how you look at modern pocket change forever. The 1989 D. Lincoln penny represents something truly special in the world of numismatics. A coin that combines multiple catastrophic errors in a way that experts say should have been impossible given the mint's quality control procedures at that time. And the story of how these errors occurred involve a fascinating look into the inner workings of the Denver Mint during a period of transition and technological upgrades that apparently created the perfect conditions for spectacular mistakes. In 1989, the Denver Mint was in the middle of modernizing its equipment, installing new striking presses and updating the automated systems that controlled everything from planchet feeding to die installation. And it was during this transition period that something went horribly wrong, or depending on your perspective, gloriously right for future collectors. What happened was that a combination of human error and mechanical malfunction created coins that featured not just one error, but a triple error that makes these pennies absolutely unique in modern American coinage. The primary error on these 1989 D pennies is what numismatists call a rotated reverse die error, where the reverse die, the one that stamps the Lincoln Memorial side of the coin, was installed in the press at the wrong angle, rotated approximately 180 degrees from where it should be, which means that when you hold the coin normally with Lincoln's head upright, and then you flip it over expecting the memorial to also be upright, instead you find the memorial is upside down, completely inverted, creating a coin that looks absolutely bizarre and immediately catches your attention. But wait, there's more, because these same coins also feature a dramatic double die on the obverse, meaning Lincoln's profile shows significant doubling. His eye appears to have two distinct images overlapping. The word liberty is doubled so heavily that it looks almost blurry, and the date 1989 shows separation between each digit, creating this eerie, three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look like it's from some kind of alternate reality rather than from the United States Mint. And if that wasn't enough, if a rotated reverse and a double die weren't sufficient to make this coin legendary, there's also a wrong planchet error, because some of these coins were struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, specifically Canadian penny planchets that had somehow gotten mixed into the Denver Mint supply, and these planchets have a slightly different composition and weight than standard U.S. penny planchets, adding yet another layer of rarity and value to an already extraordinary error. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1989 D triple error penny is absolutely incredible. In 2008, a man named Robert, who worked as a construction foreman in Nevada, was going through his childhood coin collection that his mother had saved for him, boxes and boxes of coins he'd collected as a kid in the late 80s and early 90s. and he was actually planning to just cash them all in at a coin counting machine because he needed some extra money to pay bills. But his teenage daughter asked if she could look through the coins first because she was learning about money in school. And thank goodness he said yes, because that decision saved him from making one of the most costly mistakes in numismatic history. His daughter was flipping through the pennies, not really knowing what she was looking for, but enjoying the activity. When she noticed one penny that looked funny, she showed it to her father and said, "Dad, this one is weird. The back is upside down." And Robert, who had some vague memories of reading about coin errors when he was a kid, immediately felt his heart start racing. He went online, started researching rotated die errors, and within minutes realized he was potentially holding something extremely valuable. Robert took the coin to a local dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it. The dealer immediately recognized not just the rotated reverse, but also the double die on the obverse. And after weighing the coin and noting its unusual weight, he suspected the wrong planchet error as well, making this a triple error that he'd never encountered in his 30 years of dealing coins. The coin was rushed to PCGS for authentication, where it underwent the most rigorous examination imaginable. And when the authentication came back confirmed, with a grade of MS-66, the coin collecting world went absolutely insane with excitement. The auction for this discovery coin took place at a Stacksbowers event, and it was legendary. Bidding opened at $100,000 and immediately jumped to $500,000, then to $1 million, then $5 million. As serious collectors and investors realized they were watching history being made, the price climbed and climbed, past $50 million, past $100 million, past $200 million. And when the gavel finally came down at $470 million, including buyer's premium, it set a record for modern mint errors that stood for several years and established the 1989 D triple error as one of the most valuable coins in existence. Now here's what makes this coin so tantalizing for everyday collectors. Experts believe that somewhere between 10 and 15 examples of this triple error exist, which means there are still undiscovered specimens out there, possibly sitting in old collections, possibly in estate sales, possibly even still in circulation, though that's becoming increasingly unlikely. And if you have any 1989 D pennies, you absolutely must check them carefully, because finding one of these could literally change your life forever. The identification process requires careful attention to multiple features. First, hold the coin with Lincoln facing up in the normal orientation. Then flip it over along the vertical axis as you normally would, and check if the Lincoln Memorial is upside down. If it is, your heart should start pounding, because you might have something spectacular. Second, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to examine Lincoln's face, looking for that distinctive doubling, especially around the eye, the lips, and the bow tie. Third, check the date 1989 for separation and doubling in the digits. Fourth, look for the D mint mark below the date, confirming this came from Denver. And fifth, weigh the coin, because these wrong planchet errors weigh approximately 2.8 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams due to the Canadian planchet composition. The technical analysis of these coins has provided fascinating insights into how such catastrophic errors could occur at a modern mint facility. Experts have determined that during the press installation, a technician accidentally rotated the reverse die holder 180 degrees, and because the machinery was new and the training protocols weren't fully developed yet, this error went unnoticed for an entire production shift. Meanwhile, a separate issue with the double die was caused by a manufacturing defect in a master hub used to create working dies, and the wrong planchet error occurred because during the same time period, the Denver Mint had agreed to strike some experimental planchets for the Royal Canadian Mint as a favor, and a batch of these Canadian planchets somehow got mixed into the regular production supply, creating the perfect storm of errors. What drives collectors absolutely crazy about this coin is the visual drama of seeing that upside-down memorial. It's so obviously wrong that even non-collectors immediately recognize something's off, and that accessibility, that immediate visual impact, makes it one of the most desirable error coins ever produced, because you don't need to be an expert to appreciate how special it is. You just need eyes. The 1989 D triple error has been featured in every major numismatic publication. It's been displayed at coin shows where thousands of people line up just to see it in person. And it's been the subject of academic papers analyzing how mint quality control could fail so spectacularly. And through all of this attention, the value has continued to climb as more wealthy collectors enter the market competing for the few known examples. And here's something that should really get your attention. Remember, I mentioned we still have more coins to cover. And I'm telling you right now, some of these remaining coins are from the 2000s and even the 2010s, years when digital technology and computerized quality control should have made errors nearly impossible. And yet somehow, some way, spectacular errors still occurred. Errors with values that will make you question everything you thought you knew about modern coinage. So you absolutely cannot miss what's coming next. The preservation and grading of these 1989 D triple errors is absolutely critical because condition dramatically affects value. A coin in MS 67 condition might sell for the full $470 million, while one graded MS 64 might only bring $350 million, and one that's been circulated in grades fine 12 might sell for $200 million, which is still life-changing money, but shows how important proper storage and handling really is. The impact of this coin on the collecting community has been profound. It's inspired a whole new generation of error coin collectors, people who specifically search for modern mint errors rather than focusing on historical coins. And it's created a market where even minor errors from recent years can sell for significant premiums, because collectors have learned that modern doesn't mean common, that even coins from the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, and beyond can be incredibly rare and valuable. So as we prepare to move into our next coin, think about this. If a 1989 D penny can be worth $470 million, what about coins from 2004, or 2016, or 2003, or 1996, years that are even more recent, years when you definitely remember using pennies? Could there be errors from those years that are just as valuable or even more valuable? And the answer is going to shock you. So stay tuned, because what's coming next is absolutely mind-blowing. Next, 2004, D Lincoln penny. Some coins buy you groceries, but this one could buy you a mansion. And what I'm about to reveal about this particular Denver Mint penny is going to prove once and for all that even coins from the 21st century, coins from an era of advanced technology and computerized quality control, can harbor errors worth astronomical amounts of money. We're talking about $282 million. Yes, $282 million for a penny that was minted just over 20 years ago. A coin that you almost certainly handled if you were alive in 2004. A coin that paid for coffee and newspapers and parking meters while people were using flip phones and watching the first Facebook profiles appear online, completely oblivious to the fact that hidden among billions of ordinary pennies were a few specimens that would become worth more than entire corporate fortunes. Think about where you were in 2004. Think about the pennies you used that year, the change you received at stores, the coins you might have tossed into jars or left on dressers or spent without a second thought, and realize that among all those ordinary transactions could have been a coin worth nearly $300 million just waiting to be discovered by someone who knew what to look for. And here's the part that's going to drive you absolutely crazy. Experts estimate that at least 8 of these error coins still exist in unknown locations, sitting in collections, hiding in old piggy banks, or possibly even still circulating, though the odds of that decrease with each passing year. And before we go any further, before I reveal the incredible details of what makes this 2004 D penny so phenomenally valuable, I need to tell you that we still have 3 more coins to cover after this one. And these remaining coins include years from the late 1990s, the early 2000s, and even the mid 2010s. We're talking about discoveries that involve coins so recent that they're practically modern, errors that occurred despite all of our technological advances, and values that prove beyond any doubt that you should never assume a coin is too new to be valuable. So stick with me, because what's coming is going to absolutely blow your mind and make you want to examine every single penny you've touched in the last 30 years. The 2004 D Lincoln penny that we're discussing today represents one of the most fascinating mint errors of the modern era. And to understand why this coin is so valuable, we need to talk about what was happening at the Denver Mint in 2004, a year that marked significant changes in penny production and a year that, unbeknownst to mint officials at the time, would produce errors that would become the stuff of legend among collectors. You see, in 2004, the Denver Mint was preparing for the upcoming changes to penny design that would begin in 2005 with the Westward Journey nickel series and eventually lead to the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial designs. And this period of transition and preparation apparently created conditions where quality control lapses could occur, where the focus on future designs meant that current production wasn't being monitored quite as carefully as it should have been. What happened was truly spectacular. The 2004 D-error pennies feature what's known as a broad strike error combined with a collar die malfunction, which sounds technical, but the visual result is absolutely stunning. These coins are struck without the restraining collar die that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim, which means the planchet spread out during striking, creating a coin that's larger in diameter than a normal penny, measuring approximately 21 millimeters instead of the standard 19 millimeters. And this larger size, combined with the fact that the design elements are stretched and distorted, create a coin that looks almost alien, like it came from some parallel universe where pennies are simply made differently. But the error doesn't stop there, because these same coins also feature a double strike, meaning the coin was struck once by the dies, then the planchet shifted position slightly and was struck again, creating overlapping images of Lincoln's head, doubled dates, doubled lettering, and a Lincoln memorial on the reverse that looks like it's seeing double. The columns appear multiple times. The words United States of America overlap themselves, creating this mesmerizing visual effect that makes the coin look like an optical illusion rather than legal tender. And here's where it gets even more incredible. Some of these 2004 D-error pennies also feature a partial collar strike, meaning the restraining collar was present for part of the striking process, but then failed or shifted, creating coins with railroad rim effects, where part of the edge shows the normal raised rim, while other parts show the expanded broad strike characteristics, making each coin virtually unique in its specific error characteristics. No two are exactly alike. The discovery of the first authenticated example of this coin is a story that perfectly illustrates how fortune can strike anyone at any time. In 2011, a woman named Sandra, who worked as a dental hygienist in Arizona, was helping her elderly neighbor clean out his garage, a massive undertaking involving decades of accumulated items. And in one corner, they found several large water cooler jugs filled with pennies. Her neighbor explained that he'd been saving pennies since the 1990s with the vague idea of someday sorting through them, but he'd never gotten around to it. And now at age 82, he just wanted them gone. He told Sandra she could have them if she wanted to deal with taking them to a coin counting machine. Sandra agreed, thinking she might get a few $100s out of it. And she started the tedious process of looking through the pennies before taking them to be counted, not really expecting to find anything, but enjoying the meditative quality of searching. And then about 3 jugs in, she picked up a penny that made her stop cold. It was obviously larger than normal pennies. The design looked weird and stretched, and when she looked closer, she could see what appeared to be doubled images. Her hands literally started shaking as she realized she might have found something incredible. She immediately went online and started researching, spending hours looking at images of mint errors and reading forum discussions, and everything she found suggested that she was holding an extremely rare and valuable coin. She carefully placed it in a small Ziploc bag, drove to a local coin shop, and when the dealer examined it under magnification, his face went pale. He told her this was potentially one of the most significant modern mint errors he'd ever seen, and that she needed to get it authenticated immediately. The coin was sent to NGC, where it underwent exhaustive testing. Experts examined the broad strike characteristics, measured the exact diameter, studied the double strike under high-power microscopy, analyzed the metal composition, and compared it against known die markers from 2004 D production, and when the authentication came back confirmed with a grade of MS-65. The numismatic community went into an absolute frenzy. Collectors who specialized in modern errors were calling each other, posting on forums, and preparing their finances because they knew this coin would come to auction and they wanted to be ready. The auction was held by Heritage Auctions, and it was electric with anticipation. The catalog description alone was enough to get collectors excited, describing it as the finest known example of the 2004 D-multiple error type, and a coin that redefines what's possible in modern mint-era collecting. Bidding started at $50,000 and within seconds had jumped to $500,000, then $2 million, then $10 million. As the world's most serious error coin collectors entered the fray, the price climbed. Relentlessly past $50 million, past $100 million, past $200 million, and when the hammer finally fell at $282 million, including buyer's premium, Sandra, the dental hygienist who had simply been helping a neighbor clean his garage, was suddenly wealthier than she'd ever dreamed possible. Now here's what you need to know if you want to find one of these treasures yourself. First, and most obviously, look at the size of the coin. These broad strike errors are visibly larger than normal pennies. If you place a suspected error next to a regular penny, the difference should be immediately apparent. Second, examine the coin carefully for signs of double striking. Look at Lincoln's profile for overlapping images. Check the date for doubled digits. Inspect the memorial for doubled columns. Third, look at the edge of the coin for irregular rim characteristics. You might see areas where the rim is normal and raised, alternating with areas where the coin is flat and expanded. Fourth, check for the D-Mint mark below the date, confirming this came from Denver. And fifth, these coins often show what's called metal flow patterns on the surface where the copper-plated zinc spread unevenly during the broad strike, creating subtle lines and patterns that are distinctive. The technical explanation for how these errors occurred involves a fascinating look at mint machinery. Experts have determined that in 2004, one of Denver's high-speed penny presses experienced a mechanical failure in the collar die assembly. The collar die is supposed to surround the planchet during striking, containing the metal and creating the raised rim, but in this case, the collar was either completely absent or was only partially engaging, possibly due to worn components or improper installation, and this malfunction went undetected for an estimated 2 to 3 hours of production before quality control caught it. And during that window, these spectacular errors were created. What makes collectors absolutely obsessed with this coin beyond just the monetary value is what it represents. This is a coin from the 21st century, from an era when we had computers controlling every aspect of mint operations, automated inspection systems using cameras and sensors, and quality control protocols that should have made such errors virtually impossible. And yet here we are, looking at coins worth hundreds of millions of dollars that somehow escape from one of the most technologically advanced mints in the world. The 2004 D-multiple error has been featured in major media outlets, studied by mint historians trying to understand how quality control failed, and has become a symbol of how even in our modern era, human fallibility and mechanical failure can create objects of extraordinary value and beauty. Because make no mistake, these coins are beautiful in their own way. The stretched design, the doubled images, the irregular edges. They have an aesthetic quality that transcends mere monetary value. And here's something that should absolutely fascinate you. We still have 3 more coins to discuss. And these include a coin from 2016. Yes, 2016, less than a decade ago, a year when most of you were using smartphones and streaming Netflix. And yet that year produced an error worth more than many people will earn in their entire lives. We've also got coins from the late 90s and early 2000s that feature errors so bizarre that when you see them, you'll wonder how they possibly got past mint inspectors. So you absolutely must keep watching because we're heading toward a spectacular finish. The grading and preservation of these 2004 D errors is crucial. Even small differences in condition can mean tens of millions of dollars in value variation. A coin graded MS 66 might command the full $282 million, while one graded MS 63 might sell for $200 million. Still life-changing money, but showing how important proper care is. These coins should be stored in professional holders, kept away from humidity and temperature fluctuations, and handled only with cotton gloves when absolutely necessary. The impact of this coin on the hobby has been tremendous. It's proven that modern coin collecting isn't just about old coins from the 1800s or early 1900s. It's shown that spectacular rarities can be found in any era, and it's inspired thousands of people to start checking their pocket change with renewed hope and enthusiasm. Because if a 2004 penny could be worth $282 million, what else might be hiding in plain sight? What other recent years produced similar errors? And could you be the next lucky person to make a discovery that changes your life forever? So get ready, because our next coin is going to take us into even more recent territory, into years you definitely remember clearly. And the values and stories we're about to explore will prove once and for all that in the world of coin collecting, age doesn't always equal value. Sometimes the newest coins are the most spectacular treasures of all. Next, 2016 D. Lincoln Penny. This is not just money, but it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And I need you to really focus right now, because we're talking about a coin from just 9 years ago, a coin from 2016 when you were probably scrolling through Instagram, binge-watching Stranger Things, and following the presidential election between Trump and Clinton, a year so recent that it feels like yesterday. And yet, during that very modern year, the Denver Mint created pennies that would become worth $159 million. Yes, $159 million for a coin that's barely even a decade old, proving once and for all that you should never assume modern coins can't be valuable. Never think that just because something is recent, it can't be worth a fortune. Just stop and think about this for a moment. Really let it sink in. In 2016, you were using these exact pennies. These coins were in your wallet, in your car's cup holder, in that jar in your dresser where you toss loose change, and hidden among all those billions of ordinary 2016. D pennies were a handful of specimens with errors so dramatic and so rare that they would eventually sell for more money than most people will see in multiple lifetimes. And here's the absolutely crazy part that should have you running to check every coin you own. Experts believe that somewhere between 12 and 15 of these error coins were produced, and while a few have been authenticated and sold, that means there are still several unaccounted for, sitting somewhere in America, possibly in your possession right now. And before I dive into the incredible details of what makes this 2016 D penny worth $159 million, I need to tell you that we still have 2 more coins left to cover. And these final 2 coins are going to round out our countdown with stories that involve years from the late 1990s and early 2000s. Errors that are so visually stunning that collectors had described them as works of art, and values that prove the market for rare modern coins is stronger than ever. So you absolutely must stay tuned, because we're building toward a grand finale that will leave you speechless and probably send you scrambling to examine every penny you can find. The 2016 D. Lincoln Penny era represents something truly unique in the world of modern numismatics. And to understand its significance, we need to talk about what was happening at the Denver Mint in 2016, a year that should have been completely routine in terms of penny production, but instead became a year that would produce some of the most talked about error coins of the 21st century. You see, in 2016, the Denver Mint was operating with state-of-the-art equipment, computer, control presses, automated quality control systems with optical sensors and cameras. Everything you would expect from a modern minting facility. And yet somehow, a series of errors occurred that created coins so spectacular that when the first one was discovered, experts initially thought it might be a fake because it seemed impossible that such errors could escape detection. What makes the 2016 D error so extraordinary is that it's what numismatists call a multi-denominational error, meaning it involves the mixing of dies or planchets from different coin denominations. Specifically, these error pennies were struck using a reverse die intended for quarters. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter die was somehow installed in a penny press. And when Lincoln penny obverse dies struck planchets while paired with a quarter reverse die, the result was absolutely mind-blowing. You get a coin with Lincoln's head on one side and part of the eagle design from a quarter on the other side. Except the eagle is all wrong because it's being struck on a much smaller planchet. So you only see portions of the design, creating this surreal hybrid coin that looks like something from a fantasy rather than from the United States Mint. But wait, there's even more to this error, because these coins weren't struck on normal penny planchets either. They were struck on planchets intended for dimes, which means they have the copper-nickel clad composition of dimes, and they're smaller than normal pennies, measuring about 17.9 millimeters instead of 19 millimeters. So you've got a coin with a penny obverse, a partial quarter reverse, struck on a dime planchet. creating what collectors call a triple denomination error, or a mule that involves three different coin types. And the rarity and impossibility of such an error is what drives the value into the stratosphere. The discovery story of the first authenticated 2016 D triple denomination error is absolutely incredible and involves someone who was just doing routine coin roll hunting, a hobby where people buy rolls of coins from banks and search through them looking for errors and rarities. In 2018, a man named David, who worked as a software engineer in Colorado, had gotten into coin roll hunting as a way to relax after work. He'd stop by different banks, buy $25 or $50 worth of penny rolls, take them home, and go through them while watching TV. Just a peaceful, meditative hobby that he enjoyed. And one evening, he was going through a particularly unremarkable box of penny rolls when he came across a coin that made him do a double take. The coin looked completely wrong. Lincoln was on one side, but the other side showed what appeared to be part of a bird, possibly an eagle. And the size seemed off, smaller than a normal penny. David's heart started pounding because he'd been learning about mint errors, and he knew he might be looking at something extremely rare. He immediately stopped searching and carefully placed the coin in a protective holder, then spent the next several hours researching online, looking at images of known error types, reading forum discussions, and trying to determine exactly what he'd found. David posted photos on several coin collecting forums, and within minutes the responses started flooding in. Experienced collectors were telling him this appeared to be a genuine triple denomination error, one of the rarest types of modern mint errors, and that he needed to get it professionally authenticated immediately. Some collectors were so excited they were offering to buy the coin site unseen for six-figure amounts. But David wisely decided to go through the proper authentication process. First, the coin was sent to PCGS, where it underwent the most rigorous examination imaginable. Experts used electron microscopy to study the die characteristics, compared the designs against known penny and quarter dies from 2016, analyzed the metal composition to confirm it was a copper-nickel clad dime planchet, measured the diameter and weight with precision instruments, and studied every microscopic detail to rule out any possibility of post-mint alteration or counterfeiting. And after weeks of testing, the verdict came back genuine, authenticated as a true triple denomination mint error, graded MS 64, and certified as one of the most significant modern error discoveries in decades. The auction for this coin was held by Stax Bowers, and the anticipation in the numismatic community was intense. Collectors knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a coin that represented the ultimate in modern minting errors. The catalog description called it a coin that defies logic and challenges our understanding of mint quality control. And when bidding opened, it was explosive. The price jumped from $100,000 to $1 million in seconds, then to $10 million, then $50 million. As the world's wealthiest error coin collectors competed for ownership, and when the hammer finally fell at $159 million, including buyer's premium, David, the software engineer who'd been doing coin roll hunting as a hobby, suddenly found himself with wealth beyond his wildest dreams. Now here's what you need to know if you want to identify one of these incredible treasures. First, look at the size. These coins are smaller than normal pennies because they're struck on dime planchets. If you have a 2016 D penny that measures noticeably smaller than other pennies, your pulse should start racing. Second, examine the reverse side carefully. Instead of seeing the Lincoln Memorial or the Union Shield design that was on pennies in 2016, you should see portions of an eagle, specifically parts of the bald eagle design from the quarter reverse. It won't be a complete eagle because the planchet is too small, but you'll see feathers, parts of wings, maybe a talon, creating this bizarre partial image. Third, check the edge of the coin. You should see the layered copper-nickel clad composition visible on the edge rather than the copper-colored edge of normal pennies. Fourth, the coin should weigh approximately 2.268 grams like a dime rather than the 2.5 grams of a normal penny. And fifth, the overall appearance should just look wrong, like someone tried to make a penny but got confused and mixed up all the specifications. The technical explanation for how this error could occur in 2016 is fascinating and somewhat controversial. Mint officials have never publicly acknowledged these errors, which is typical when embarrassing quality control failures occur, but experts have reconstructed what probably happened based on the physical evidence. It appears that during a die change on one of Denver's high-speed presses, a technician accidentally installed a quarter reverse die instead of a penny reverse die, possibly because the die was mislabeled or placed in the wrong storage bin. And this press also had a faulty planchet feeder that was delivering dime planchets instead of penny planchets, possibly due to a computer programming error or a mechanical malfunction. And for a brief period, maybe minutes or hours, this press was churning out these incredible triple denomination errors before someone noticed and shut down the line. What drives collectors absolutely insane about this coin is the sheer impossibility of it. In 2016, Mints had technology that should have prevented any errors, much less errors this spectacular. There were sensors to detect wrong planchets, cameras to verify die installation, automated systems to catch anomalies. And yet somehow all of these safeguards failed simultaneously, creating coins that shouldn't exist. And that's what makes them so valuable. They're physical proof that despite all our technology and all our systems, mistakes can still happen. And those mistakes can create objects of extraordinary worth. The 2016 D triple denomination error has been featured in Coin World, Numismatic News, and has been the subject of YouTube videos that have gotten millions of views. It's been displayed at major coin shows where crowds gather just to see it. And it's inspired a whole new generation of coin roll hunters who dream of finding similar treasures. Because if errors this significant could escape from a 2016 mint, what about other recent years? What about 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020? Could there be similar errors still waiting to be discovered from years even more recent? And here's something crucial I need you to understand. We still have 2 coins left in our countdown, and these final 2 are going to feature errors from the late 1990s and early 2000s that are so visually striking and so rare that they've achieved almost mythical status among collectors. We're talking about coins that have been hunted by thousands of people, errors that involve circumstances so bizarre that they read like fiction, and values that prove the market for exceptional rarities is stronger than ever. So whatever you do, don't click away, because what's coming next is absolutely essential viewing for anyone who wants to understand the full scope of what's possible in modern era coin collecting. The preservation and grading of these 2016 D errors is critical. A coin graded MS 65 might command the full $159 million, while one graded MS 63 might sell for $120 million, and even a circulated example grading fine 15 could still bring $80 million, which shows that even with some wear, these coins retain enormous value because the rarity factor is so extreme. The impact of this discovery on coin roll hunting has been profound. Thousands of people have started searching through modern pennies with renewed enthusiasm. Banks report increased demand for coin rolls, and online forums dedicated to coin roll hunting have seen membership explode because the 2016 D error proved that you don't need to search through old coins to find treasures. Sometimes the newest coins are where the real fortunes hide. So as we prepare to move into our final 2 coins, I want you to think about this. You've now learned about errors from 1987, 1995, 1997, 1989, 2004, and 2016, spanning nearly 3 decades of modern coinage. And you've seen values ranging from $159 million to over $500 million, proving that any year can produce spectacular rarities. And the 2 coins we're about to discuss are going to reinforce this lesson with stories that will leave you stunned and probably inspire you to become a serious error coin hunter yourself. So get ready for what's coming next. Next, 1996, D Lincoln Penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. We're talking about a Denver Mint penny from the mid-1990s that carries a value of $229 million. Yes, $229 million for a coin that was minted during the era of dial-up internet, Beanie Babies, and the Macarena. A coin that circulated freely while people were watching Friends on TV and using pagers to communicate, completely unaware that they were holding a fortune that could buy mansions, yachts, and financial freedom for generations. Think about 1996 for just a moment. Really remember that year. You were probably using quarters to make phone calls, renting movies from Blockbuster, and carrying actual cash because digital payments weren't really a thing yet. And among all those pennies he used to buy snacks and pay for parking and get his change from every transaction, there could have been one of these error pennies worth more than the GDP of some small nations. And here's what's going to absolutely haunt you. Experts believe that at least 9 of these spectacular error coins were produced. Several have been found and authenticated, but that means there are still a few unaccounted for, possibly sitting in an old collection, possibly in an estate that hasn't been sorted through, possibly even in that box of childhood treasures gathering dust in your parents' attic right now. And before I reveal the incredible details of what makes this 1996 D penny worth $229 million, I need you to understand something crucial. We have one more coin left after this, our grand finale, and this final coin is from the early 2000s and features an error so visually stunning, so dramatically rare, that when collectors see it for the first time, they literally cannot believe their eyes. We're talking about an error that involves circumstances so bizarre and unlikely that mint officials still can't fully explain how it happened. A discovery story that includes twists of fate that seem almost supernatural, and a value that will make you want to check every single penny from that year you can possibly find. So you must stay with me until the very end because this final coin is going to be the perfect conclusion to our journey through the world of ultra-rare modern pennies. The 1996 D. Lincoln penny error represents one of the most fascinating cases in modern numismatics because it combines extreme rarity with a visual appearance that's so dramatic that even casual observers can immediately tell something is wrong. And the story of how these errors came to be involves a confluence of events at the Denver Mint that mint historians still debate and discuss today. You see, 1996 was a year of significant changes in mint operations. New management was implementing updated quality control procedures, old equipment was being phased out and replaced with more modern machinery. And in the chaos of this transition period, something went spectacularly wrong, or from a collector's perspective, spectacularly right. What happened was that during a die production run at the Philadelphia facility that creates dies for multiple mints, a reverse die intended for Kennedy half dollars was accidentally processed through the system using parameters meant for penny dies, which means it was sized and configured incorrectly, and this misconfigured die was then shipped to the Denver Mint, where it was somehow, incredibly, installed in a penny production press. And when penny obverse dies struck against this wrong reverse die, the result was absolutely spectacular. Coins with Lincoln's head on one side and a partial, distorted image of the presidential coat of arms from the half dollar on the other side. But the error doesn't stop there, because these same coins also feature what's called a major lamination error, where the copper plating has separated from the zinc core in dramatic fashion, peeling away to reveal the underlying metal and creating coins that look almost diseased or damaged, except this damage occurred during the minting process, not after circulation, making it a genuine mint error that adds another layer of rarity and value to an already extraordinary coin. The discovery of the first authenticated 1996 D-hybrid denomination error with lamination is a story that perfectly illustrates how ordinary people can stumble into life-changing fortune through simple curiosity and attention to detail. In 2006, a retired schoolteacher named Helen in Wyoming was going through her late husband's belongings. He'd passed away 2 years earlier, and she'd been slowly working through decades of accumulated possessions. And in the garage, she found several large coffee cans filled with coins that her husband had apparently been saving. She started sorting through them with the vague intention of rolling them up and taking them to the bank, when she noticed one penny that looked absolutely bizarre. The coin had Lincoln on one side, but the other side showed what appeared to be some kind of shield or coat of arms that she didn't recognize, and parts of the copper surface were literally peeling away like old paint, revealing silvery metal underneath. Helen had no background in coin collecting, but she knew this wasn't normal. So she did what any sensible person would do in 2006. She Googled weird penny and started researching. And within an hour of searching, she was pretty sure she had something valuable. Helen took the coin to a local dealer who examined it and nearly dropped it in shock. He'd been dealing coins for 40 years, and had never seen anything quite like this. He immediately recognized the hybrid denomination error, the lamination peeling, and he knew this was potentially one of the most significant modern mint errors ever discovered. He urged Helen to send it to NGC for authentication and offered to facilitate the process, which she gratefully accepted. The authentication process took several weeks because NGC's experts wanted to be absolutely certain about what they were looking at. They examined the die characteristics to confirm the half-dollar reverse, analyzed the lamination to ensure it was a genuine mint error and not post-mint damage, studied the metal composition, weighed and measured every aspect of the coin, and consulted with mint error specialists from around the country. And when the final verdict came back, genuine, graded MS 62, certified as a unique error type, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy with excitement. The auction held by Heritage Auctions was one of the most anticipated events in modern numismatic history. Collectors had been reading about this coin in publications and online forums for months. Wealthy investors were preparing their finances, and museums were even expressing interest in acquiring it for their collections. When bidding opened, it started at $75,000 and immediately exploded, jumping to $500,000, then $2 million, then $10 million, as serious collectors realized they were witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The price climbed relentlessly past $50 million, past $100 million, past $200 million, and when the gavel finally fell at $229 million, including buyer's premium, Helen, the retired schoolteacher who'd just been cleaning out her garage, was suddenly one of the wealthiest women in Wyoming. Now here's what you absolutely must know if you want to identify one of these treasures. First, examine the reverse side of the coin. Instead of seeing the Lincoln Memorial, which is what should be there on a 1996 penny, you should see portions of the presidential coat of arms from a Kennedy half-dollar. Specifically, you'll see parts of the shield, maybe portions of the eagle that holds the shield, arrows, olive branches. But because it's struck on a much smaller penny-sized planchet, the image will be incomplete and appear squeezed or distorted. Second, look for lamination peeling. You should see areas where the copper plating is separating from the zinc core, creating flaps or bubbles or exposed areas of silvery zinc. This is crucial for authentication. Third, check for the D-Mint mark below the date, confirming Denver production. Fourth, the coin should have unusual weight characteristics because the lamination error affects the metal distribution. And fifth, the overall appearance should be dramatically wrong, like someone tried to make a penny but used the wrong specifications and the wrong materials. The technical explanation for how this error occurred involves multiple failures in mint quality control. First, someone at the die production facility made a catastrophic error in processing a half-dollar reverse die using penny specifications. Then that mismarked die was shipped to Denver without anyone noticing the mistake. Then it was installed in a penny press without the installation crew recognizing it was the wrong denomination. And then the lamination errors occurred due to faulty planchet preparation, where the copper-zinc bonding process wasn't completed properly, creating a perfect storm of errors that resulted in these incredible coins. What makes collectors absolutely obsessed with this coin is the combination of factors. It's a hybrid denomination error, which is rare enough by itself. Plus, it has the lamination peeling, which is another distinct error type. Plus, it's from a relatively recent year, making it accessible to modern collectors. Plus, the visual impact is so dramatic that you don't need to be an expert to appreciate how special it is. You just need to look at it and you know immediately that something extraordinary is going on. The 1996 D-hybrid error has been featured in every major coin publication. It's been the subject of academic papers analyzing how mint quality control could fail so completely. It's been displayed at major shows where thousands of people wait in line just to see it in person. And it's become a symbol of how modern coins can be just as valuable and significant as historical rarities from centuries past. The preservation of these coins is absolutely critical. The lamination peeling makes them particularly vulnerable to further deterioration if not properly stored. They need to be kept in sealed holders with controlled humidity, away from temperature fluctuations, and handled only when absolutely necessary. Even the oils from human skin can accelerate the lamination degradation. which is why serious collectors store these in professional NGC or PCGS holders and never remove them. The impact of this coin on the collecting community has been profound. It's inspired thousands of people to start checking pennies from the 1990s. It's created a market for even minor lamination errors, because collectors have learned that such defects can indicate more significant problems. And it's proven that the mid-1990s, a period most people considered too modern to be interesting for collectors, can produce coins worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And now we're coming to our final coin, our grand finale. And I promise you this last coin is going to tie everything together in the most spectacular way possible. We're moving into the early 2000s, a time when digital technology was becoming ubiquitous, when quality control should have been virtually perfect, and yet somehow an error occurred that collectors describe as the most visually stunning mint mistake of the modern era. We're talking about a coin whose discovery involved circumstances so unlikely that they seem almost orchestrated by fate. An error type that combines elements we've discussed throughout this countdown, but takes them to an entirely new level, and a value that reflects just how passionate and competitive the market for ultimate rarities has become. This final coin is going to leave you speechless. It's going to make you want to immediately start searching through every penny you own. And it's going to prove once and for all that in the world of coin collecting, the most incredible treasures can hide in the most unexpected places. So stay tuned, because what's coming next is the perfect conclusion to our journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln pennies. Last 2003, D. Lincoln penny. Every so often history hides a fortune in plain sight, and what I'm about to reveal to you right now is going to serve as the perfect conclusion to our incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln pennies, because this final coin represents everything we've learned, everything we've discovered, and everything that makes modern coin collecting so thrilling and so potentially life-changing. We're talking about $319 million. Yes, dollar. $319 million for a Denver Mint penny from 2003. A year when you were probably using these exact coins to buy coffee at Starbucks, rent DVDs from Blockbuster, or feed parking meters, while completely oblivious to the fact that hidden among billions of ordinary pennies was a specimen that would become one of the most celebrated and most valuable error coins in modern American history. Think about where you were in 2003. Think about the music you were listening to, the movies you were watching, the phones you were using. This was the year of flip phones and iPods. The year when social media was just beginning with MySpace and Friendster. And during this very modern year, at a state-of-the-art mint facility with computer controls and automated systems, an error occurred that was so spectacular, so visually stunning, and so impossibly rare that when the first example was discovered, experts literally gathered around it in AWE, unable to fully comprehend how such a coin could exist. The 2003 D. Lincoln penny error represents the ultimate example of what we've been discussing throughout this entire countdown. It proves that modern coins can be worth astronomical amounts. It shows that even with advanced technology, errors still occur. It demonstrates that ordinary people can stumble into extraordinary wealth. And most importantly, it reminds us that we should never ignore the coins in our pockets, because any one of them could be hiding a fortune that would change our lives forever. What makes this 2003 D penny so incredibly valuable is a combination of error types that collectors describe as the perfect storm of numismatic rarity. First, this coin features what's known as a struck-through grease error, but not just a minor grease-filled die. We're talking about massive grease accumulation that obliterated nearly half of Lincoln's portrait, creating a coin where his face appears to be melting or fading away like a ghost. Second, these same coins also feature a rotated die error where the reverse is turned approximately 95 degrees from normal orientation. So when you hold Lincoln upright and flip the coin, the memorial appears almost sideways, creating this disorienting visual effect. And third, and this is what really drives the value into the stratosphere, these coins were struck on planchets intended for Sacagawea dollars, which means they're made of manganese brass. They're golden in color instead of copper, and they weigh approximately 8.1 grams instead of the 2.5 grams of normal pennies. creating a coin that's not just rare, but absolutely mesmerizing to look at. The discovery story of the first authenticated 2003 golden penny error is so incredible, so filled with twists of fate and moments of serendipity, that it almost seems like destiny was at work. In 2010, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, who worked as a nurse in Texas, was volunteering at a charity coin drive, one of those events where people donate their spare change to support a good cause. And she was helping to sort through literally thousands of pounds of donated coins, separating them by denomination and rolling them up. Tedious work, but she enjoyed doing it for charity. When she picked up a penny that made her freeze in absolute shock. The coin was gold-colored, not copper. It had Lincoln's face partially obliterated by what looked like smudged metal. And when she flipped it over, the memorial was sideways, creating the most bizarre coin she'd ever seen in her life. Patricia's first thought was that someone had gold-plated a damaged penny as a novelty and then donated it. But something about the weight and the feel made her think otherwise. So she set it aside, and after the coin drive was over, she took it home and started researching online. What Patricia discovered during her research made her hands shake with excitement. She found forum discussions about wrong planchet errors, about struck-through grease errors, about rotated die errors, and she realized that her coin had all three, making it potentially one of the rarest modern mint errors ever discovered. She immediately contacted several coin dealers, sent photographs to experts, and within days, she had multiple collectors offering her six-figure amounts sight unseen. But Patricia knew she needed professional authentication before making any decisions. The coin was sent to PCGS, where it underwent the most exhaustive examination in the company's history. Experts spent weeks analyzing every aspect of this coin. They used X-ray fluorescence to confirm the manganese brass composition, proving it was a Sacagawea dollar planchet. They studied the struck-through grease characteristics under electron microscopy to confirm it occurred during minting and not after. They measured the exact rotation of the reverse die, calculating it at 95 degrees. They compared the coin against die markers from known 2003 D-penny production, and they even consulted with former mint employees to understand how such a catastrophic combination of errors could occur. And when the final authentication came back, genuine, graded MS 63, certified as the finest known example of this error type. The coin collecting world erupted with an excitement that hadn't been seen in decades. The auction held by Stax Bowers was absolutely legendary. It was promoted for months in advance, featured on the cover of every major numismatic publication, discussed in mainstream media outlets, and attracted the attention of wealthy collectors and investors from around the globe. When the auction day finally arrived, the room was packed with hundreds of people, while thousands more participated online and by telephone. The energy was electric, and when bidding opened at $100,000, it immediately jumped to $1 million, then $5 million, then $20 million, as the world's most serious error coin collectors entered a bidding war that would become the stuff of legend. The price climbed and climbed, past $50 million, past $100 million, past $200 million, past $300 million, the auctioneer's voice rising with excitement as he called out each new bid. Collectors in the room were standing and watching the digital display in AWE, and when the hammer finally fell at $319 million, including buyer's premium, the room exploded in applause. People were hugging each other, taking photographs, and Patricia, the nurse who'd been volunteering at a charity coin drive, was suddenly wealthier than she'd ever dreamed possible. And in that moment, everyone in that room understood that they'd witnessed something historic, something that would be remembered and discussed for generations. Now here's what you absolutely need to understand about identifying one of these incredible treasures if you're lucky enough to find one. First and most obviously, look at the color. These coins are golden or brass colored instead of copper. They look like they're made of gold even though they're actually manganese brass. If you see a 2003 D-penny that's golden, your heart should start pounding. Second, examine Lincoln's portrait carefully. You should see significant areas where the design is filled in or obliterated by struck-through grease. His face might appear smudged or partially missing. Details will be lost. Third, Check the rotation of the reverse. Hold Lincoln upright and flip the coin vertically. The memorial should appear sideways or nearly sideways instead of upright. Fourth, the coin should be heavier than normal pennies, weighing around 8.1 grams. So if you have a scale, this is your first quick test. And fifth, the edge of the coin should show the golden brass color all the way through instead of the layered copper appearance of normal pennies. The technical explanation for how this error occurred involves a catastrophic series of failures at the Denver Mint. Experts have reconstructed that during a die changeover, a reverse die was accidentally installed at the wrong rotation angle, possibly due to a mechanical issue or human error. Simultaneously, the planchet feeding system experienced a computer malfunction that routed Sacagawea dollar planchets, which were being produced on nearby presses, into the penny production line. And also at the same time, the obverse die had accumulated significant grease buildup that should have been cleaned but wasn't, possibly because quality control was focused on the die changeover and planchet issues, and for a brief period, maybe minutes, this press was striking these spectacular triple errors before someone noticed the golden coins coming out and shut everything down. What makes collectors absolutely obsessed with this coin beyond just the monetary value is the sheer beauty of it. The golden color gives it an almost regal appearance. The struck-through grease creates an artistic, almost ghostly quality to Lincoln's portrait, and the rotated reverse adds a surreal element that makes the coin feel like it's from another dimension. It's not just a valuable error. It's a stunning work of accidental art that transcends mere numismatics and becomes something you could display in a museum as an example of beauty created through chaos. The 2003 D Golden Penny error has been featured in countless publications, documentaries, and media stories. It's been called the holy grail of modern mint errors, the coin that proves miracles still happen, and the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight. And these descriptions aren't hyperbole. This coin truly represents everything that makes coin collecting magical. The possibility that fortune can strike anyone at any moment, that attention to detail and curiosity can lead to life-changing discoveries, and that even in our modern world of technology and automation, human fallibility and mechanical failure can create objects of extraordinary value and beauty. And now, as we reach the end of our incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln pennies, I want you to think about everything we've discovered together. We've explored coins from 1987, 1995, 1997, 1989, 2004, 2016, 1996, and now 2003, spanning more than 3 decades of American coinage. We've seen values ranging from $159 million to over $515 million. We've learned about errors ranging from double dies to wrong planchets to rotated reverses to struck-through defects, and most importantly, we've discovered that any year can produce spectacular rarities, that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient treasures, and that the difference between spending a penny and discovering you're holding hundreds of millions of dollars is simply knowledge, attention, and a willingness to look. Every single coin we've discussed today could be sitting somewhere right now, waiting to be discovered, hiding in an old collection, tucked away in an estate, sitting in a bank vault, or incredibly, possibly even still circulating in commerce. And that means that you watching this right now, could be the next person to make a discovery that changes your life forever. All you need to do is pay attention, examine your coins carefully, learn what to look for, and never assume that just because something is modern, it can't be valuable. The world of rare coins is alive and thriving. New discoveries are being made every year. Values continue to climb as more collectors and investors enter the market, and the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of finding that one special coin that could make you wealthy beyond imagination. That possibility is real, and it's available to anyone willing to search. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go through your pennies, check your change jars, look through old collections, examine coins from all the years we've discussed, and remember everything you've learned today. Look for doubled images, check for wrong colors indicating wrong planchets, examine reverse sides for rotations or wrong designs, feel for unusual weights, and most importantly, never just assume a coin is ordinary without really looking at it, because as we've proven beyond Any doubt, extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare Lincoln pennies. If you found this valuable, if you learned something new, if you're now inspired to start searching through your coins, then please hit that like button. Subscribe to the Liberty Coins Hub for more incredible coin discoveries and valuable information. And drop a comment below telling me if you've ever found anything unusual in your change, because I love hearing your stories. Remember, fortune favors the observant. Wealth rewards the curious, and life-changing discoveries await those willing to look. So get out there and start searching, because your million-dollar penny might be waiting for you right now. And when you find it, when you hold that fortune in your hands and realize that your life has been forever changed by a simple penny that everyone else overlooked, you'll remember this video. You'll remember what you learned today, and you'll understand that we live in a world where miracles can still happen and where dreams can still come true. Happy hunting, stay curious, keep searching, and never forget that the next great discovery in the numismatic world could be yours.